ousting Mariano Rajoy as Spanish president. This is the aim of the Spanish Socialists. They're galvanizing support of pro-independence parties to get rid of the PP government, which is affected by a huge corruption scandal. Hello, and welcome to Catalan News. For decades, the Spanish People's Party benefited from kickbacks in exchange for giving contracts to a network of business people, bidding for tenders. The former treasurer of the party has been sentenced to 33 years in jail. But President Mariano Rajoy insists there are no grounds for him to resign and warns that any attempts to oust him will cause instability in Spain. The Spanish Socialists will try, though, and have found an unlikely ally in pro-independence forces. A change in government in Spain could cause a U-turn in the Catalan crisis. We'll talk about this and also tell you about the latest turmoil in Parliament, where the Speaker urged MPs to not behave as if in a madhouse. Mariano Rajoy has been the Spanish president since 2011, but he was already minister back in 1996 with José María Aznar. He has held high-ranking posts in the government and in his party for almost all his political life. But in a testimony last summer, he denied knowledge of a corruption plot entailing bribes and dirty money payments that lasted for years. Yesterday, a court sentenced his party to repay 250,000 euros for having benefited from the scheme, and said his testimony was not credible. And now the opposition wants Rajoy out, and Catalan parties can play a key role in achieving this.
The future of the Spanish government is hanging by a thread, and the Catalan parties could be the ones to decide whether to cut it or not. Today, the Socialists put forward a motion of no confidence against President Mariano Rajoy. The reason? His party has been convicted in a major corruption scandal.
Me dirijo a los 350 diputados y diputadas del Congreso para pedirles responsabilidad, generosidad y que entre todos saquemos a España del lodazal de corrupción en el que lo ha metido el partido que ahora mismo está gobernando nuestro país.
Rajoy has a different stance on the issue.
El tema no es que el Partido Popular haga esto o tal, les trae completamente sin cuidado. El objetivo es otro, es ser presidente del gobierno a cualquier precio, con quien sea.
In order to succeed, the main opposition party will need the votes of other groups. This includes left-wing Podemos and liberal Ciutadans. But the latter has been clear. They will back the move if a new election is automatically called, but not to appoint a new government backed by their political nemesis.
La moción presentada por el señor Sánchez, suponemos que con el apoyo de populistas y separatistas, no es la moción de Ciudadanos.
Without Ciutadans, the Socialists have no choice. They need the votes of regional parties from Valencia, the Canary Islands and the Basque Country, and also the Catalan pro-independence parties. Yet leaving differences aside might be no easy task.
No solament ens ha ofès, sinó que ha demostrat que estava disposat a competir amb Ciudadanos en tot allò que ateny a la catalanofòbia.
El senyor Sánchez, què té a explicar-nos en relació a les qüestions molt òbvies que des d'un punt de vista català en aquests moments formen part de l'agenda política?
Last October, the Socialists backed Rajoy when he imposed direct rule on Catalonia following a declaration of independence. 7 months later, Catalonia remains without a government, while the future of the one in Spain is now up in the air.
Rajoy's government is on the brink of collapse, but it's still blocking the creation of a new Catalan executive. Madrid effectively rules over Catalonia using Article 155 and is not allowing President Quim Torra to nominate his ministers. This because he included 2 politicians who are jailed and 2 who are abroad in his cabinet. But there are no legal grounds for Spain to block the government, and Rajoy must allow the ministers to take their posts. That is what the legal advisors of the Catalan government said today in a report. And now President Torra has urged the court to protect his rights, to elect his own cabinet, and is even considering a lawsuit against Rajoy for breach of official duty. That is, for trying to do something he is not legally entitled to do, blocking a government from taking office. Torra also urged Rajoy himself in a letter today to immediately accept his new ministers. The lack of a Catalan government was especially evident today in Parliament. President Quim Torra sat alone in the government benches in the first session since being elected. Despite the unusual political situation, today's plenary was expected to be calm, but the presence of a yellow ribbon quickly sparked a controversy that even prompted the speaker to suspend the debate.
It all started this morning with an unprecedented image in Parliament. All the government seats were empty but for the president's, which was occupied by the newly elected Quim Torra. Instead of ministers, there was a yellow ribbon in solidarity with the pro-independence leaders in jail and abroad. Then Carlos Carrizosa, a senior member of the main unionist party, Ciutadans, asked the speaker to remove it.
Demano que es tregui o el traurem nosaltres.
But the Parliament Speaker, Roger Torrent, flatly refused.
Que no converteixin això en una olla de grills o un pati d'escola.
This led Carrizosa to remove the ribbon himself. In a very tense episode in Parliament, the President ended up suspending the session.
Torni a posar el llaç o en aquest moment suspenc el ple I els crido a l'ordre.
After an hour recess, the parties agreed that the ribbon could stay in the government seats, but next to Torra. This is only the latest in a number of incidents concerning such ribbons. A battle of symbols, it seems, is underway in the country. Yellow has become the color symbolizing solidarity with the officials in jail or exile. They can be seen worn on people's clothes, but also on public buildings, fences, pavements. Not everyone likes it, though. The Spanish government delegate in Catalonia sent a letter to all mayors in the country calling for no political symbols in public. This came after last weekend some 20 people in balaclavas stormed a pro-independence installation involving yellow crosses on a beach. 5 people ended up injured. The controversy has spread around the country. One mayor wants people to get permission before placing yellow ribbons in public spaces, but many others have bitterly criticized the Spanish government representative. This clash of wills might seem only symbolic, but underlying it is a debate on the deposed officials. Are they victims of Spanish repression or criminals? As long as they continue being behind bars or abroad, the controversy is likely to drag on.
Let's change topic now. Catalonia will have a new casino in Tarragona in the south. The government has granted a license for the new leisure and gambling complex. Hard Rock International will be in charge of making the project a reality, which includes not only the casino, but also restaurants, shops, and a concert hall. The works are expected to start before June next year and imply an investment of 700 million euros. The project will create more than 11,000 jobs and is expected to attract new tourists to the area, which is already popular in summer. But it's also caused some criticism among citizens and left-wing groups that didn't want such a huge complex in Catalonia. The Spanish Civil War is one of the most tragic events of the country's recent history, which was torn apart. The army staged a coup against the Republican government, so the defense of the democratic institutions had to improvise a new military that initially was only formed by volunteers and even international brigade members.
There's a small town in central Catalonia called Pujalt. Now, it's a tranquil respite from city living, but exactly 80 years ago it became something much different. An improvised military training camp for the Republicans in the Spanish Civil War. In honor of this anniversary, the memorial has now opened their newly renovated section to the public, the mess hall. A kitchen and eating space can give a touching window onto the personal lives of those who live there. In this case, it also highlights a very human aspect of the war.
És l'únic dedicat a aquesta temàtica de la formació militar, de la reorganització militar, de l'acte previ, una mica de què havien de, com se'ls tractava els soldats previ a anar al front, o previ a tornar al front.
The Spanish Civil War raged from 1936 to 39, fought between the Republicans defending the democratically elected government and the fascists led by Franco, who had staged a military coup and later became dictator. And the Republicans, differently from the nationalists, were not trained soldiers. They were often citizens and often much too young to fight. Some were as young as 17 years old. The war also became a worldwide issue. The International Brigade saw many coming from abroad to fight alongside the Republicans, including names like Orwell and Hemingway. The restoration of the memorial in Pujalt is part of a larger effort in Catalonia known as historical memory. Named after a law passed over a decade ago, it's aimed at recovering and rectifying the past horrors of the war. Part of this, until recently, included the exhumation of mass graves, numbered in the thousands. But as of now, most of those buried there remain unidentified.
Don't know what to do this weekend? Well, we have an interesting proposal here at Catalan News. Try Lleida in eastern Catalonia, where they cook a very popular meal. Do you like snails? In Lleida, they cook them in a traditional way, and 200,000 people will gather together to eat them. Preparations are already underway to cook the more than 12 tons of them. Yes, you heard right, 12 tons, expected to be eaten this weekend at one of the most popular gastronomy events in the Lleida region. And with this, we finish today's show. We leave you with some images of emergency services and training exercises done with helicopter in the Pyrenees. So remember, if you go to the mountains, be careful. Thanks for watching, and see you again next week.